So we were in a group a while ago, and you started telling me a story about a guy that's actually in your community group.
Yes.
How did you get to know the guy? First of all, how did you get to know him?
How did I get to know him? Well, the first couple of times I would just say hi to him. And then it was when we had testimony, Derek, who's the leader of our community group, sent us a text that I didn't really read. And then that night goes, hey, guys, we're doing testimonies. And I was like, oh, snaps, there's going to be a lot of testimonies tonight. And everyone actually gave their testimony.
How many people are in the group?
I say there's 2, 4, 6, there's about 8 of us.
Okay. Yeah, that can take a while.
Yeah. And so, but no, everyone got through it. But it's awesome to see how Jesus brought a group of misfits like the disciples together, and we're all come from different walks, and we wouldn't be in that room if it wasn't for Jesus or seeking Jesus.
Right. Okay, so in the text message that this guy sent you, he said, your story is my story. So what is your story?
Yeah, no, my story is coming from really a broken home, and really just I blamed a lot on a God that I didn't believe. Like I blamed my parents' divorce, their marriage, and everything I went through as a kid. I just began this passion of just like this basically hate for God. And so when people would try to talk to me about it, I didn't really want to talk about God because there was so much hurt. And I would look at my family. I'm like, if God, you really love me, why would my family be broken like it is? But the reality is, as I look back now as a Christian, we all have choices.
Right.
And it's those choices that we make as like, you know, you're talking in your first Samuel series that when God comes to us, either we can listen or we can leave.
For sure.
And so, yeah.
So how did that happen in your life that you gave your life to Jesus?
So what happened was I was just living my life however I wanted, doing whatever I wanted. And it was a girl we were friends, which she's my wife now.
Okay.
And she came to my roommate's house. I was coming back in from a run, and I heard her quoting scripture to my friends, and I'm going like, who the heck is this chick? Like, who are you? And she goes, no, you guys have it wrong. And I believe it was about the 144,000 in Revelation. They were going through end times. And I was just like, and then after that, like that seed was planted. And then just getting to know her more, her mom wanted to meet me. And as I met her mom, I was like, her mom has something I don't have, and I want it so bad. And at first I couldn't put it, like I couldn't think what it was. And then when she goes, come to church with me. I went to church. The church she went to was a Calvary Chapel. It was a great message, but I'm like, this is not for me. And so I started going to churches by myself going, okay, there has to be more. My grandma is a Christian. So I started asking her questions. She goes, and she would just smile and laugh and be like, just keep doing what you're doing.
So
and
you're going to churches by yourself. That had to be a weird experience.
It was because I would go to a couple churches and I'm like, oh, wow, this is a great experience. But then I'd go to this one that I found out was her uncle's church. And every week I felt like he was just speaking to me.
Oh, he's a preacher, yeah.
Yeah, he's a pastor. And so like I was just like, man, I wonder if like Julie has told him anything about me. And so I go up to him and like, hey, Pastor Paul, like I feel like you're speaking directly to me.
You're like, what's your deal, man?
Yeah. I'm just like, wait, Julie, are you sharing stuff with your uncle?
How funny.
And he's like, I don't even know who you are. And he goes, come to this Bible study tonight. I'm like, what's this Bible? He goes, it's an evangelism training. And in my head, I'm like, that's Christianese now. And I'm just like, what is this? So I go. It's his wife leading.
Okay.
Well, his wife knows everything about everybody. And she goes, you're dating my niece. So I'm like, how does your husband not know that?
See, I told you know who I am.
And so she has these How to Be Saved tracks, which I still have today.
Oh, wow.
And she goes, staple these. I'm stapling them, going like, okay. There's like 30 people in this class.
Okay.
And she starts going over it. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. No, a priest can save you. Like he sprinkles whole. Like I got that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
you grew up Catholic?
No, my real mom was Catholic. So we got baptized. Like
gotcha.
That whole thing.
But in your mind, a priest can save you.
Yeah. So a priest can save me. And then she started going through other questions and no one was like asking questions. And I thought it was weird. And so I was like, I'm going to stump her. And then finally she just stands up and she goes, you don't know who Jesus Christ is. And it was my wife's aunt in front of everyone who basically stopped the class and led me to Christ. And I was just like, what the heck just happened?
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah. And so I drove home that night to my 1-bedroom studio and just said, God, I'm yours, whatever you want. Like, here I am, not knowing that he had any of this in store. I mean, God brought me to Phoenix to work with Fellowship of Christian Athletes to reach coaches and athletes and broken people for Jesus. I never would be in this situation, in this community group, if it wasn't for him.
How long have you been with FCA now?
FCA, I've been volunteering for 3, on staff for 3, so a total of 6 years with them.
Okay. And now, recently, I mean, you came to Valley Life for, I don't know, over a year maybe, just by whenever you were here from California, you would drop in
Yep.
because your wife's family's here. And now you live here all the time.
Yep.
And you're working with schools like Sunset Ridge Junior High,
Yep.
right? And Boulder Creek, and even like Saguaro.
Yeah. So anything on the Northeast Valley that's a high school,
Yeah.
I'm going to be working with.
That's awesome. And out there just sharing your faith. And
Yeah, sharing faith, talking about sports, talking about God, and really trying to get these athletes and coaches to use their platform of what God has truly blessed them with
Yeah.
to share that with other people. Because, I mean, like Billy Graham said, a coach will impact more people in a year than you and I will in a lifetime, or the average person in a lifetime.
That's awesome. I talked to a business owner yesterday, and he said, Brian, sometimes more people come to faith in business than in church if a church is set up just for Christians. And they're like, trust me, our church is not set up just for Christians. People get saved here too.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing you talk about. Like about 3.5 years, maybe 4 years ago, we came to visit Julie's sister,
Okay.
and we went to different churches around here. They're great churches.
Sure.
And then one night she goes, "Hey, we're going to go to church in the morning." I'm like, "No, like I'm taking a sabbatical. I'm taking a break." And
I'm busy.
Yeah, she goes, "No, we're going." And so I look, and it's never showed up on my Google search. And it's like Valley Life. I'm like, "Hey, it's like a mile away from here."
Yeah.
And so we checked it out, and we're leaving. She goes, "It's home."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Home's in Southern California, babe." And then after that, God just started opening doors, and we actually feel at home. And then the community group is just really the icing on the cake. Like,
I didn't realize it's been 3 years.
yeah.
Yeah. We've had several conversations by phone and stuff like that. So now all the way back up to you're in community group. This guy, who can remain anonymous or whatever, but he's texting you saying, your story is my story. And what'd you tell him?
I just told him I really didn't experience God's love truly until I accepted him and received him and said, "God, I'm yours." And it's like I told the community group, it's crazy because when we're born, God created us. He knitted us together in our mother's womb, and we're his.
Mm-hmm.
But because of sin and the fall of sin, as we get older and we start to know right from wrong, we start to pull away. He has to buy us back again.
Mm-hmm.
And then that is just the crazy thing. And I said, that is love.
Yeah.
That is true love, that he created us. He wants us. And like he kind of, as we start learning right and wrong, we start seeing things in the world that we think we want and we don't want. And then we start to fall away. But he's there constantly pursuing us. And it's because of our sin or our lifestyle that we can't hear. And it's just in those moments of time of vulnerability, we're like, what the heck, God? And so I just said, I didn't really experience God's true love until I received him. I mean, I thought I loved my wife, and I do love my wife. But when I accepted Christ and started reading and opening and started being poured into, I began to love my wife in a whole different way, because it's like, wow, like God just does it. And then when you have a kid, it's even like, wow, I thought I loved even, I thought I was already a loving guy.
Yeah.
And God just continues to support that love, and it's just crazy.
That's good. Man, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you and Julie and your family are both here. And